Hello, Radiant Leo, the cosmic fire that turns dreams into destiny. Let me ask you something important right from the start. Have you felt something strange brewing in the air around your home, like a silent whisper that says, nothing will ever be the same? If your heart skipped a beat just now, trust that it wasn't random. This isn't just a horoscope reading. This is a divine checkpoint in your journey, and you've arrived exactly on time. Welcome to Eternal Mindfulness, where each message is more than a prediction, it's a soul-aligned reminder from the universe itself. You didn't just stumble on this video, it found you. Because in just 3 days, something truly unexpected will stir within your home, your heart, or your sense of belonging. It may seem strange at first glance, disruptive, emotional. But it's not here to break you, it's here to wake you up, to realign you with what truly matters. And Leo, this message isn't about fear. It's about freedom. Because what's coming isn't destruction. It's preparation for a powerful return, to love, to abundance, to clarity, and above all, to yourself. You see, some moments in life aren't just chapters, they're entire soul upgrades. And the universe, in its infinite wisdom, has chosen now as your activation point. I want you to pause and reflect for a second. Have you been holding on to something, a routine, a relationship, a belief, just because it feels familiar, even though your soul is craving change? If the answer is yes, know this, you are not alone. You're not broken. You're being summoned. And here's something beautiful. You are not powerless. You're the creator of what comes next. So before we go any further, do one sacred thing. Sparkles, comment an angel number that speaks to your spirit right now. 111, 444, 808, whatever number pulls you in, write it below to anchor this energy into reality. Let the universe know, I hear you. I'm ready. And allow me a moment to share my deepest gratitude. For every like, every comment, every time you subscribe or share, you're not just supporting this channel. You're keeping a sacred circle alive. You're helping messages like this reach others who are quietly searching for a sign to keep going. So thank you, sincerely, from my heart to yours. And believe me, Leo, you'll want to stay with me until the very end of this reading. Because what the universe is about to reveal is nothing short of life-changing. There's something breathtaking waiting for you just beyond the veil. And by the time we reach the final moment of this journey, you won't just understand what's happening. You'll feel ready to embrace it. So, shall we begin? Sometimes, the most profound changes don't come crashing through the door, they slip in quietly, disguised as everyday disruptions. Perhaps it's a sudden urge to rearrange your furniture, or a subtle tension in the atmosphere at home that you can't quite name. Maybe a conversation unexpectedly unearths a truth that makes you question your role in the space you've long called familiar. When such moments arise, they aren't here to create fear. They are gentle messengers of redirection, asking you to pause, to breathe, and to listen beneath the noise of habit. The energies revealed through the Tower reversed and the Six of Swords speak of this precise kind of moment. The Tower, often seen as a card of upheaval, when reversed, becomes a softer quake, less about destruction, more about internal recalibration. It suggests that something within your home environment is no longer aligned with your growth, and yet instead of crumbling everything, the shift comes as an invitation. An invitation to leave behind not the home itself necessarily, but the energy, patterns, or emotional stagnation that have taken root within it. The Six of Swords, in harmony with this message, whispers of transition, not dramatic, but intentional. It speaks of crossing emotional waters, carrying the lessons of the past without letting them weigh you down. It's not escape, it's evolution. It's the moment you begin to understand that where you physically dwell can reflect where you are emotionally dwelling too. A cluttered corner, a room filled with outdated memories, or an object that brings tension instead of peace, these can all mirror the subtle weight we carry inside. From a deeper perspective, this kind of change calls for a shedding, not of identity, but of false safety. In life, we often stay where it feels predictable, even if that predictability keeps us small. We convince ourselves that comfort equals alignment, when in truth, comfort can sometimes be the very shell we must crack open in order to grow. Think of a lotus. It does not bloom in still water. It rises from the mud, through 1,000 small shifts, stretching toward light it has not yet seen. So too do we grow, not through grand gestures, but by answering the quiet call to clear space, internally and externally. There is a sacred power in cleaning your space with awareness. Not as a task on a to-do list, but as an act of devotion to your future self. Burning sandalwood or frankincense, writing down what you're ready to release, and saying it out loud, these are not rituals of superstition. They are physical anchors for the intentions of your heart. They declare, I am ready to let go of what no longer holds me with care. And in doing so, they create the space for something new, unknown, and potentially extraordinary to take root. Change that begins in the home is often underestimated. But your home is more than walls and floors. It's the sacred container of your rest, your thoughts, your vulnerability. When you shift the energy there, you begin to shift your entire vibrational field. You begin to choose peace not as a concept, but as a way of being. And in that peace, the universe begins to respond, not because you forced anything, but because you aligned yourself with the quiet rhythm of becoming. So if something feels strange in your space right now, take it not as a disturbance, but as a message. A soft knock at the door of your awareness, asking you to remember who you are and what kind of energy you wish to invite into your life. The transformation is not coming from outside. It's already happening, in you, through you, and around you. All you have to do now, is notice. When a new beginning calls you, it rarely does so with fanfare or flashing lights. More often, it arrives as a quiet whisper, a moment of clarity during an ordinary task, or a subtle realization that something you've always dismissed now holds meaning. After the inner shift stirred by recent emotional tides, you're stepping into a new stage, one that asks you to rebuild not from scarcity or fear, but from truth. And truth, especially when it comes to work, money, and purpose, has a way of asking us to look deeper than we're used to. The energy of the Ace of Pentacles combined with the Three of Pentacles carries the blueprint of lasting prosperity. Not just financial gain, but the kind of grounded, collaborative abundance that grows stronger over time. You're being offered a seed, a real, tangible opportunity, but it comes with a responsibility, to nurture it with integrity and shared vision. This isn't about chasing success in the way the world has defined it for you. It's about choosing what feels stable, not just what looks stable from the outside. It's possible that in the past, someone overlooked your worth, or worse, took from you without giving credit or care. That kind of wound runs deep, especially when it touches something as personal as your creativity or work ethic. But now, you're not being asked to retaliate. You're being guided to reclaim. To redefine value, not just in currency, but in contribution. What do you bring to the table that no one else can replicate? What skills, insights, or inner resilience have you quietly cultivated while others rush toward the spotlight? The truth is, external validation is fleeting. But self-respect, the kind that's earned through honest work and clear boundaries, is unshakable. You're being asked now to release the outdated version of success that was handed to you, and instead define it from within. Maybe that means building a business around what lights you up. Maybe it's switching careers, even if others think it's risky. Or maybe it's simply honoring your current role more deeply, recognizing that how you do something matters more than what you do. There's a teaching that reminds us, the work we perform is never separate from who we are. If we pour anger, resentment, or desperation into it, the results will always echo that. But if we bring presence, clarity, and a sense of service, even the smallest effort becomes meaningful. This is where stability begins, not in the paycheck alone, but in the energy behind how you earn it. True security isn't stillness, it's alignment. It's waking up knowing that you're building something real, even if no one sees the full picture yet. So now is the time to take inventory. Look at your life not with judgment, but with soft awareness. Where have you been trading your energy for things that don't feed you? Where have you accepted just enough, when you're capable of so much more? This is your invitation to make work sacred again, not sacred in a religious sense, but as a return to inner coherence. As the mind, heart, and effort unify, what once felt like survival begins to feel like creation. The old model told you to follow a path already paved. But the new opportunity ahead may ask you to carve your own. And even if that feels uncertain, remember this: your path was never meant to look like anyone else's. Your measure of success is not how high you climb by comparison, but how deeply you root into your own truth and build upward from there, steadily, intentionally, without needing to rush. Love, much like the seasons, has its own quiet rhythms, moments of blooming, falling away, and stillness in between. After walking through the internal restructuring of your values, work, and sense of purpose, the next call is clear: to turn inward and examine how those shifts reflect in your relationships. Whether you are partnered or walking this part of the path alone, the energy around you is urging a deeper inquiry, not just about who is in your life, but about how love is moving through you. The appearance of the Six of Cups and the Knight of Cups suggests a dance between nostalgia and possibility. The past often calls to us not because it belongs in the present, but because it holds a reflection of who we once were. Someone from your history may be reappearing, perhaps with words they never had the courage to say, or gestures that once felt missing. But the real question is not whether they want to return, it's whether the version of you they once knew still exists. Because sometimes, people come back for the memory of who you were, not for the person you've become. On the other side, there is the soft, steady presence of someone new. Someone who doesn't rush in with grand gestures but carries a sincerity that feels refreshing, even slightly unfamiliar. This person may be quietly observing, drawn not by your external light but by the calm strength that radiates when you are aligned with your truth. They aren't seeking to complete you. Instead, they are willing to meet you as you are. But to allow that energy in, your heart must first believe it's safe to receive. In any relationship, past, present, or potential, the most important compass is not logic or timing, but how your body and heart respond in their presence. Do you feel like you can breathe freely? Or are you shrinking to maintain connection? Emotional safety isn't built on perfection or predictability. It's built on the ability to be seen, held, and heard, even in your imperfect moments. So, ask yourself gently, who allows you to be fully yourself, without needing to perform or protect? For those in a current partnership, this is a powerful time for truth-telling. The silence between you may have grown, not from lack of love, but from fear of conflict, fear of vulnerability, or fear of being misunderstood. But the longer important truths go unspoken, the more they calcify into distance. If value systems around money, life direction, or emotional expression feel misaligned, this is not a reason to walk away. It is an invitation to walk closer. To sit down and say, "This matters to me," without blame or defense, but with a desire to rebuild what still feels worthy of your effort. If you're single, you're not waiting, you're preparing. And preparation isn't passive. It's choosing to refine your sense of what love actually means to you. A powerful practice is to write a letter, not to a person, but to the experience of love itself. Describe the feeling you wish to live inside, the sense of freedom, of safety, of being deeply seen. In doing so, you're not manifesting a person, you're aligning yourself with the frequency of love that feels most authentic to your spirit. In the end, love is not about holding on or letting go of someone else. It's about listening to the subtle ways your soul responds to connection. When something is true for you, it won't demand that you bend or break to belong. It will feel like coming home to yourself, even if that home looks different than you once imagined. And that, perhaps, is the most sacred kind of love there is. After exploring the shifts in love and emotional connection, we're gently guided toward a space even more intimate, the body. While external relationships reflect our inner world, it's the relationship we hold with our own physical vessel that often reveals the most. When the Empress appears reversed, she speaks in whispers rather than shouts. Her message isn't one of urgency, but of quiet depletion, the kind that comes from too much giving, not enough receiving. And if you've been feeling inexplicably tired, unfocused, or emotionally stretched thin, your body may be offering you a truth your mind hasn't yet spoken aloud. Your body is not separate from your spirit. It is the sacred garden where every emotion leaves its trace, every choice takes root, and every boundary, set or ignored, leaves a mark. There's an old understanding that what the mind resists, the body absorbs. When you suppress your own needs, swallow stress, or stretch yourself beyond your limits to care for others, the result isn't just emotional fatigue. It begins to manifest in the physical: tightness in the chest, restless sleep, digestion issues, skin flare-ups, or simply a lingering sense that you no longer feel quite at home in your own body. And so the invitation here is gentle but powerful: come home. Not to a place or a person, but to yourself, through the language of care. You don't need a grand transformation. You don't need a new identity. What you may need is nourishment, not just food on a plate, but moments of stillness, breath, and conscious presence that say, "I matter." This body matters. I deserve to be well. Whole grains, leafy greens, and vibrant berries aren't just nutritious, they are grounding. They hold the energy of earth, stable, steady, supportive. Reducing white sugar and greasy foods isn't about diet culture or appearance. It's about clearing the fog, so that your organs, your mind, and your subtle body can communicate with clarity. Think of your body as a sacred room. Would you dim its light with noise, chaos, and clutter? Or would you open a window, let in fresh air, rearrange the space with intention, and sit down for a moment of peace? A simple 10-minute meditation before sleep, paired with the affirmation, "I am the sanctuary of my own peace," can become an act of energetic alignment. Not a ritual for perfection, but a gentle act of return. Because when you declare your body a place of rest, rather than a machine of endless doing, you begin to reverse the imbalance the Empress points to. There's also an awareness here that our tendency to overgive is often rooted not in love, but in fear of not being enough, of disappointing others, of losing connection. And yet, when we abandon ourselves to stay in motion for others, we gradually lose the very center that others are drawn to. Your vitality, your glow, your ability to love, all of it begins with how you care for the home within. Just as we declutter our external space to invite in clarity, we must also clear the stagnant emotions, outdated expectations, and unprocessed fatigue that linger in the body. Breath is the first broom. Food is the second. Rest is the third. And the fourth, perhaps most important, is permission. Permission to pause, to nourish, to protect your energy, and to reclaim your rhythm. This chapter of your journey doesn't demand that you push forward. It invites you to soften. To rest not because you are broken, but because you are wise enough to know that rest is how we remember ourselves. The body, when cared for without pressure, becomes not a battlefield of judgment but a temple of truth. And in that sacred stillness, healing begins, not as an achievement, but as a natural return to balance. When we've done the inner work, clarified our values, redefined stability, tended to our hearts, and softened into the rhythm of our bodies, the final piece is to align ourselves consciously with the flow of life. This is where patterns become power. Not by force, but by recognizing that everything around us is quietly communicating with us all the time. Numbers, colors, timing, sensations, they're not random. They're mirrors. Subtle messengers guiding us back into rhythm with the deeper order that often gets buried beneath our daily routines. Numbers like 111, 444, and 808 aren't just coincidences. They're frequencies, reminders. When 111 shows up, it often marks the presence of a threshold. A new beginning. Not necessarily a dramatic one, but a foundational shift. It whispers, "You are becoming." A thought, a decision, a moment of clarity has opened a door. It's the beginning of alignment, not perfection. It's the signal to act with intention, even if you don't yet know the outcome. Then there's 444, often appearing when you need to feel held, grounded, or reassured. It symbolizes a container of safety, of unseen structure. Just like the four corners of a house, or the four limbs of a seated body, it reminds you that you are supported even when you feel uncertain. Seeing 444 is a gentle nudge to return to your center, your breath, and your boundaries. It asks you to protect your peace as you would protect your own home, not out of fear, but out of devotion. And when 808 emerges, it brings a deeper invitation: balance. The kind that doesn't come from doing more, but from harmonizing what you already have. It marks a moment where the material and the internal are finally catching up to each other. It's a sacred checkpoint. A reminder that wealth isn't just what you accumulate, it's what you circulate, and what you allow in. Alongside these numbers, color becomes an emotional guide. Copper, rich and earthy, is a signal to return to what grounds you: a walk, a breath, a pause to feel your feet fully touching the floor. It connects you to the present. Jade green is the frequency of renewal, not just for the heart, but for your capacity to trust again. It clears emotional residue, offering calm without apathy. And pearl white, or soft metallic silver, acts like a protective layer, not as a wall, but as a light veil that shields your energy from what no longer serves. All of this leads back to one universal truth: when you let go of what isn't aligned, you don't lose. You receive. Life responds not to what we say we want, but to what we are willing to make space for. And making space begins with awareness. With intention. With permission. That's where the law of attraction comes in, not as a trick to manifest your desires, but as a reflection of your readiness. The moment you stop clinging to what drains you, you send out a new signal. One of clarity. One that says, I'm available for better. That's why writing down a simple affirmation like, I open my heart to all good things. I am a magnet for abundance, love, and peace, and placing it somewhere visible isn't just a ritual. It's a quiet declaration. A tuning fork. A signal to both your mind and the energetic field around you that something has shifted. You've moved from passive hoping into conscious welcoming. When your thoughts, emotions, and environment are aligned, even in small ways, a doorway opens. That's not magic. That's design. And when you live in rhythm with that design, what comes next isn't a surprise. It's a homecoming. If you're still with me now, dear Leo, it's not by accident, it's because something inside you has stirred. A truth too long silenced, a calling too strong to keep postponing. You didn't land here just to be inspired for a moment. You came because part of you knows, a new life is waiting to be chosen, not by fate, but by your own brave hands. Every message, every symbol, every number was not a prediction, but a mirror, and now, it's your turn to decide what you'll do with what you've seen. You are not meant to stay in spaces that drain you, nor carry patterns that no longer reflect your worth. And yet, walking away from what's familiar can feel terrifying, even if it's hurting you. So let me ask you, what would your life feel like if you were no longer afraid to choose yourself? What if today, not tomorrow, was the moment you drew a line between who you've been and who you're ready to become? Maybe it starts small. A shift in thought. A boundary honored. A truth spoken. A silent "no more" whispered in the dark. Whatever it is, your soul will recognize it. Because deep down, it's already been asking for it. That's the real essence of transformation, not in waiting for the perfect moment, but in creating it, right here, with the power of awareness and aligned action. So before you move on to the next thing, pause. Let this message sink into your bones. This isn't just a video. It's a portal, one that opens only when you say yes. Yes to release. Yes to courage. Yes to the version of you who doesn't need permission to rise. I invite you now to anchor this energy by sharing something in the comments, not just to engage, but to declare. What number calls to you today? 111? 808? 444? Write it down. Claim it. Let it echo out into the field as a signal that you are listening, that you are ready. And if it feels true, write these words with intention. I choose myself, and I welcome the future I deserve. Let this be your small but powerful beginning. And if you felt held by this message, if it touched something real in you, know that this space will always be here. So please like the video, share it with someone who might need it, and subscribe to stay close to the pulse of these sacred reminders. You don't have to do it all at once. You don't have to be unshakable every day. But you do deserve a life that honors your light, your softness, and your strength. You deserve to build from truth, and you have everything you need to begin. Thank you, from the deepest place in my heart, for walking this far with me. May you carry this energy forward, not just as inspiration, but as choice. As action. As healing in motion. Now tell me, Leo, what are you ready to leave behind? And what kind of life are you finally ready to welcome in?